The experience on planes these days is a bit like being on a government bus. We had metal knives and forks instead of the plastic knives.
Oh, living the life. A mile high with metal cutlery.
But I'm not one of the Mile High Club. Yet.
Nice. Would you agree that you're a man of a certain age? Is that allowed? Am I allowed to say that?
I don't know. Is 76 a certain age?
I would say so.
Right.
I would say so. So you're of a certain age, which means that you have the privilege of looking back
not
on...
being dead.
Not being dead. And not quite in diapers yet, or nappies, or... no?
I'm not saying.
No, you're not saying. Okay. Hello and welcome to the British English Podcast with your host, Charlie. That's me. Teaching you all about British culture and British English. And sometimes we like to compare and contrast cultures. And right now I'm in Australia. I'm in Sydney. I'm down under. It's very hot. Hopefully you can't hear the fans. And I'm in my... Well, earlier this morning, a friend at tennis said, "Who are you going to see later today?" And I said, "My cousin / uncle." What would you say our connection is properly?
Welcome to Sydney, Charlie. But how many times do I have to tell you, you are my first cousin once removed?
First cousin once removed. Okay.
Yes.
So your first cousin is my dad.
Yep.
And I am the once removed generation.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay. And it goes the other way. You are the same and I am the same to you, right?
Yep. It steps down through the generations.
Yes. Okay.
So one generation down, they're cousins.
Yeah.
First cousins.
Mm-hmm.
2 generations down are second cousins.
Yeah.
But if you have first cousins and one gets out of kilter.
Yes.
It's a good word for you, Charlie.
It is.
Kilter. You have once removed.
Sorry to butt in right now, mid-conversation, but you were just exposed to a lovely phrase, and I want to teach you that phrase properly. To do so, I've created a PDF covering the definition, example sentences, context in which natives use it, which is really valuable for you, collocations, meaning the words that natives use before and after a phrase, and then a couple of good quiz questions to help lock that phrase in to your long-term memory. With this knowledge, you will go from having heard a new phrase to being 110% confident in using it when speaking English yourself. And this PDF is not just covering one phrase, but 10 phrases from this very conversation. You can grab it by scanning the QR code on screen right now, or clicking the link in the description box or the pinned comment below. That link will take you to this page. Fill out your name and email to sign up to my mailing list, and then I'll send it directly to your inbox. But I was saying that we're in hot Australia right now. This is your humble abode. Thank you for hosting me. And we're here to talk about your travel experiences through the decades.
I'm a time traveller.
You're a time traveller. Exactly. So we're going to see what time travel looks like for Lyndon. And I'm going to say this phrase because I've mentioned it before. Would you agree that you're a man of a certain age? Is that allowed? Am I allowed to say that?
I don't know. Is 76 a certain age?
I would say so.
Right.
I would say so. So you're of a certain age, which means that you have the privilege of looking back
not
on...
being dead.
Not being dead. And not quite in diapers yet, or nappies, or... no?
I'm not saying.
No, you're not saying. Okay. But you have the ability to look back at the decades and compare.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about your experiences traveling through the decades.
But to give you a little context,
Yes.
I sat with my stepfather and watched while they were landing on the moon, and he reminded me that he had seen sailing ships in Newcastle Harbour and was now watching them landing on the moon. So I'm just a continuation and a line of time travellers.
Yeah, right. Your grandfather.
Stepfather.
Your stepfather.
Yeah.
Your stepfather.
My grandfather is your great-grandfather.
Yes.
And he was born in the 1800s.
Yeah.
1870 something, and fought in the Boer War.
Right.
That's another topic.
It is another
Back to
topic,
travelling.
but it does amaze me how just one generation can be like a big time frame. Obviously, it depends on how and when they had kids. But yeah. Okay. So
you asked about the 60s and the 70s.
I haven't yet.
Oh.
But we will. We will go there now, in fact. So let's see. If you think back to your first big travel experiences in the 70s, you read my mind. Very impressive. How would you describe the feel of travel back then? And what was the general attitude towards travel?
I was jet setting. 10 years before, my parents had travelled around the world, stayed with your grandparents. In England, yes. And the whole thing was done by ship. And so it was a 5-month trip from Australia through the Middle East to the UK, and then by ship to the USA, and then by ship from USA to Australia. Just a few years later, in 1976, I would have been one of the early jet setters, because only 3 years before then were the first jumbo jets, 747s.
Yeah.
And they were the beginning of cheaper air travel.
Right.
Before that, air travel was terribly expensive. Only rich people.
So it was possible before the Boeing 747s.
Yeah, but smaller planes and higher prices.
Would it only have been like the celebrities of the world that would have
business
gotten that
people,
chance?
politicians, celebrities? Yeah. Otherwise, people didn't really travel because the ship took so long.
What year was this, or roughly what decade? 70s, yeah.
I travelled to Europe in 76.
76.
1976.
Okay. Right.
Yep.
So it was a recent phenomenon.
Yeah. So I felt like something new and very jet settery.
So cool to I've just got off the plane from Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you could say so.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of us were doing it, but it was new.
Okay.
It was new. And it felt more special. I mean, I've travelled just in the last few years, and the experience on planes these days is a bit like being on a government bus. It's everyone and anyone, and in all states of dress and undress.
Yeah.
I think then it felt more special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they were trying to create an experience.
Well, I look back at the films, like there was a film called Catch Me If You Can. Don't know if you've seen that one with Leonardo DiCaprio. And he was faking being a captain on an airline, and the stewardesses were very glammed up, and they were really trying to make the customers feel like they were very important people.
Airports were places when you could go to watch the passing parade of the beautifully dressed.
Right. And you'd actually go to an airport. Some people would go to an airport to.
Well, airports had food courts and things, so you could go there and get the feel without travelling. And of course, there was no security. There was none of that. Schmozzle trying to get through. There's a word for you.
I've never heard that.
Schmozzle.
One more time.
Schmozzle.
Schmozzle.
SHEMOZZLE. It's a real word.
Yeah.
Look at that and check that one.
Yeah.
You could go with people right up to the gate and stand at the window and wave by as they.
You know what? I remember that as a child. I know this is probably 20 years on, but I do remember going to the airport and waving my mum off to a ski trip, I think. And nowadays, I don't think we would do that. If you've got young kids, would you do that?
People don't want to go through security and take off their belts and shoes. And
so there was no security like that before?
The security only came after the
9/11?
9/11. Yeah, it didn't exist before.
I don't think
you could go and with permission. You could be invited up into the cockpit. We had metal knives and forks instead of the plastic knives.
Living the life. A mile high with metal cutlery.
But I'm not one of the Mile High Club yet.
Nice.
Explain that one.
Yeah. Okay. Can we move on to the next one, do you think?
Yeah, why not?
So how did you plan a trip in the 70s compared to the 90s and now? Was it guidebooks, word of mouth, travel agents? How different was the research process?
I'd had years of being the person who operated the slide projector for people coming back from trips overseas and having slide nights. That's what one did. When you came back, you'd get all the friends together and you'd have a slide night, which could go on and on. Or if they selected a nice set of slides, it was an amazing experience.
Okay, so it wasn't an amazing experience. If they selected a good amount, it was amazing.
Well, it was Technicolor filling up a whole wall of someone's living room.
Okay.
And I was kept amused and quiet by being the person that operated the slides. Yeah. And I could also keep it moving ahead rather than letting it droning on.
Yeah, you had control of the conversation.
I had control. But that whet my appetite. So I had images of a lot of places, especially in Europe and North America. To plan the trip, I had those ideas in my head. We used atlases, maps, guidebooks, but particularly travel agents. Okay. Travel agencies were filled with coloured books and destinations and holiday packages. And
meaning that you would actually go to the travel agents and you'd spend a bit of time in there?
Yep, you would go and be interviewed by a smartly dressed person and, pardon me, and they would show you various brochures and outline packages. And so I chose a flight to Athens, then just freewheeling for a month, 2 months in Italy, and then I had a Eurail pass, which lasted for a month and cost, I don't know, about $50 or something like that.
Right. £25, roughly.
£25, yeah, it'd be more now.
Yeah. It would be a lot more now. But
and so I just chose really the flight there and the Eurail pass. All my other travel and accommodation was not some package. I just freewheeled it, meeting friends in backpackers hostel, meeting people in backpackers hostels.
Did you have any idea of like the restaurants or anything to that level that you would experience?
No.
Yeah, nothing.
There were Lonely Planet.
Lonely Planet.
Lonely Planet's come and gone, hasn't it? I guess it's still online.
I think, it is online.
It hit big time, but after I originally travelled, back then it was, I think, Frommer, a fellow called Frommer, Arthur Frommer. He did a guide called Europe on $5 a day, which in today's terms would be about 70 Australian dollars, which is, Charlie, how many?
Half, pretty much, 35 to 40 pounds. Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty impressive if you're talking about accommodation, food, and travel all in that one day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, youth hostels were pretty cheap.
Yes.
And you ate the cheapest things you could get. I got down to $2 a day, which that was in the Greek islands. And that was sleeping outdoors.
Well, I would like to give some context here. Your son came on the show and he admitted that he once slept rough by, I think he was in Europe, similar to what you're describing, actually. And he was...
He didn't eat the stray cats.
I'm not sure. I think there may have been a cat in the night. So he went along and found an open house or like abandoned house.
Oh, under construction.
And he slept on a door.
Yes.
Yeah. The door was
as you do
on the floor,
yes.
And he was like, "That looks like a good bed."
And that's where the cat came in.
And that's because he got woken up by it. Yeah. So he likes to sleep rough. You like to sleep rough. So you can do it for $2 a day.
I don't know whether he likes to sleep rough. He likes not to spend money.
He likes not to spend money. Yeah. He gets a real kick out of it, I think.
Yeah.
So Lonely Planet was post your travel experience, your immediate travel or your first travel.
Guidebooks used to be the heaviest item in our luggage.
Ah.
Remember, there were no battery packs, no computers, no iPads, no phones, none of those heavy things.
I'm just trying to think what I would pack then.
Sleeping bag.
A sleeping bag?
For the youth hostels.
Oh, right.
A sleeping sheet, which you had to have for the youth hostels, rolled up. 2 pairs of pants, some jeans, and something a bit smarter.
Sorry, as in pants, underwear? Yeah.
No, trousers.
Oh, trousers. Okay.
Pants in Australia, trousers in the UK.
Okay.
And, a limited number of required underwears.
Yeah.
Some T-shirts, a collared long sleeve shirt, and I had I think it was a light denim jacket, which allowed me to attend a wedding.
When you were there?
Or dress it down with shorts and so on, or provide a little bit of warmth. Yeah. So traveling light.
Can you remember the first bit of technology that you owned, that you traveled with?
Mobile phone.
A mobile phone. Okay. Yeah.
And that's not until the 90s.
The 90s. Yeah. Yeah. I think I had a Game Boy quite early on, and I was born in 1990.
I had I'd forgotten. I can't remember the name for it. It was a thing with a screen with a
PDA. I was hesitant to say that, but personal digital assistant.
There were pre-mobile phones.
Because PDA also means something else, doesn't it?
Something to do with
too much PDA.
Harry and Meghan.
Public displays of affection.
That's them.
Yeah.
Harry and Meghan.
Harry and Meghan. What, they had too much PDA?
They're always PDAing.
Anyway, so 70s, 90s and today, with the idea of planning, like...
Oh, today's different.
Yeah. Do you enjoy travel today?
Once I get going...
Yeah.
I don't want to stop.
Okay.
But it's the whole planning and, trying to minimize what I'm traveling with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, because you've got so much stuff now, so much technology that you want to bring with you?
That. Yeah. And also the fact that you don't want to just have the one coloured shirt.
Yeah.
Everything has to match, so you can only have tan and green or whatever. Everything has to go with everything. But
okay,
it's easier in so many ways. Just going into into your phone and finding out where's a good place to eat, where I can stay, where can I park a car. The first time I ever used a bit of technology was BlackBerry.
First
BlackBerry.
Yeah.
It had limited internet capacity. Yes. And I was able to do a search when we were in Tasmania for a Chinese restaurant near here, and it came up with something. That was the first time I'd ever experienced something like that.
Right.
And in the 90s. Yeah, that's...
Was it the 90s?
Not the 90s. No.
Blackberries were around when I was at uni. That was the end of them. So that was 09 to 12. So
2015
noughties,
or 16 or something.
Yeah. Okay. So,
But back in the 70s,
Mm.
on the plane, I got chatting to a fellow.
And that wasn't frowned upon, to chat to somebody on the plane?
No.
Do you think
you're
it is?
walking up and down the aisle trying to get exercise and stretch the legs, and got chatting, and so met someone who was also the whole plane was going to Athens, but we both spoke English, were from Australia, and didn't know where we were going to stay.
Uh-huh.
And so we decided that we would team up to find somewhere to stay.
So we're actually going to leave the free version of this conversation here for today. The full episode is available for premium podcast listeners or members of my academy. To learn more, you can go to thebritishenglishpodcast.com. But if you're not interested in doing that, then remember to get the free PDF that helps you go from confused about the advanced language that came up in this episode to completely confident to use them yourself next time you're speaking English. To get that, scan the QR code on screen right now, or click the link in the description box or the pinned comment below. And if you're wanting another video to watch right now to improve your English, then I reckon you'll love this one on screen right now. So, see you in that one.